Hi guys! So we're going to talk about language development today. This is honestly a lot of review, a few things new, and it will be really fast today. So infants and language and communication is your study guide where you're at in your red study guide. So the first part is honestly a review. The 4 types of cries that we talked about before. There's the hungry, and I would just write rise and fall. All right, it's a rise and fall, and then they take a breath. It's demanding but not desperate. Then there's that pain cry, which is that long inward, and then the shrieking. We talked about that. There's that bored, low rhythmical cry that they have, and then the angry cry, the grumbly, fussy cry. And I hope you guys remember the video that we watched where they talked about, listening to those cries, the sounds that they're making. That's newer research. That's not quite in our curriculum yet, but I wanted to put it out there for you. So kind of cool. All right, so those are the 4 types of cries. Remember, this is how they communicate, is by crying. And so now we're going to talk about how it progresses, actually a little bit more learning language. And not just kind of a reflex cry. Anyway, the progression is obviously they cry. So that's why we just reviewed those cries. Then they coo. And what we're going to do is skip down and go to number 3. We're going to do this with each one of them. So on 2B, you put cooing. And then down on 3, you're going to explain cooing. And I'm going to explain it to you right now. Cooing are vowel sounds. And like, ooh, ah, yeah, ah. I sound beautiful, don't I? But just those cute little cooing sounds, they're vowel sounds. And this usually starts even from a few weeks up through 6 months. And the important thing here is that when they communicate with you, even if it's the crying part or they coo, that you respond to that. And you could just coo back. Oh, yeah. I was kind of crazy there for a little while with my oldest, and he would make sounds like ah or ah, and I'd be, yes, apple, astronaut, and I would be crazy. But it's really okay to do those kinds of things because it does help their language progression, which language is a very telltale indicator of somebody's cognitive level. We have better language when we have a higher cognitive level, when we're smarter, basically. All right, go back up to number 2. And we'll do C, and it's babbling. And then go down to number 4, and I'm going to explain what babbling is. It's vowels with a consonant. So instead of just saying ah, or ee, ah, ooh, they say things like da, ba, gee, goo, ga, gee. It's babbling. And they do this between 6 and 12 months. I always joke around a little bit that honestly, and this is factual though, even though I joke around about it, is that it's very easy. It's much easier for a child to form in their mouth, or baby, da. And so what happens is they say da, and we create this pleasurable experience. Remember, we just talked about that. And we're like, yay, wow, they said da, my baby's so smart. And we're so excited. And as mothers, that's super cool for about a day. And then we realize, oh my goodness, say ma, 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 ma. Right? Ma is harder to say. In fact, just say it out loud while you're listening, da, and see how much easier it is to say da than it is to say ma. So I always joke because, we're the ones who gave up our bodies, our lives, and everything, and they're going to say da first. So when they do in your long away future, you can just turn to them and say, it's easier to say. And don't create a pleasurable experience. Ha ha ha. That was funny. You're supposed to laugh. Okay. Then back up to number 2. And you're going to write single words on D, and then go back down to number 5. And single words, usually their first single words are nouns. So like, mom, dad, their own name, people that they know, and they're usually nouns. And then they progress to verbs later on. Okay, so we should have 1 through 5 done already. Can you believe that? Okay, here we go. And by the way, the key: respond to their attempts to communicate, no matter what kind of communication they're giving, even if it's just talking and talking back to him and letting him know that, yes, that's right. Okay, and having a conversation of some sort, like da, ma, ga, do, Okay, I'm joking a little bit. Okay, now on number Oh, we're on number 7. Oh, by the way, I forgot I had these. I just changed these. So, yeah, cooing is our vowel sounds. They're easier to make, and that's when they form them. Babbling are vowel sounds with a consonant added. So this is just a review of all the things that I just did, a little bit more in order. And you can see, I didn't tell you this, from 12 months to 14 months. And then again, caution, encourage words, not grunting. I usually talk about that in class too, that kids can get really good at just going, and pointing at what they want. And when we give it to them, we're not expecting them to say anything. Now, if they're in the process of learning, nothing wrong with, and they're saying, yeah, you want your drink, this is your drink, and handing it to them. But when they're older, they shouldn't be going around just grunting for things. I know my Bryson, and I had it out a few times. He has a very strong temper even when he was little, and he would point to his juice. I remember one day, and I'm like, yes, buddy, that's your juice. You know how to say juice. He would say it, Jew. And I knew he knew how to say it, and he just went, like just as stubborn as can be. And I said, oh, that's a bummer. You say juice and you can have it. And it kind of led into a little bit of a temper tantrum. And we'll talk more about that too and how to handle that later on. Anyway, you don't want them grunting because that's not language. And we want to encourage them to talk. And then putting a few words together, up even, not until the second year and the third year, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in those units. All right, now, number 7. Here we go. Parentese. We've talked about this before. That's why I have on here now. By now, we all know we have talked about it, not as much as we would have since I'm not in front of you, but, it's language. Ease means language, and it's parent language. It's high-pitched. It's correct words. You don't even have to say words, but you don't use baby talk. That's the key, okay? And you still use it. These are some milestones for their receptive and their expressive language. It is much easier to understand or to receive language. If any of you have learned a language before, you know that. It's easier to understand somebody than it is to produce the language over here. So, all I really want you to write down, you can write some of this if you'd like to, but receptive language is receiving it and listening to it and understanding. Whereas on number 9, expressive language or productive language is a little bit more difficult and a little bit harder for them. And you can see some of the things here that they may have issues with. Now, can you believe it? We're down to number 10. I told you today would be short. Guidelines for talking to and communicating with an infant. Respond to every attempt. I've said that lots today, and I will continue to say it often because it's important. Also, talk about things that the infant can see, what's in front of them. Like this little dad right here. Hey, this is your ducky. This is your duck. And it's yellow. It has orange beak. And just communicating. Not that they're going to learn that right then and there, but just talking to him. Or, oh, you're my precious little girl. You saw that little dad singing the other day in that video that I had you guys do. Another one is to name things around them. Just point them out while you're driving, while you're in the house, while you're doing things. Talk to them. Talk about the things that you're doing and just have communication going. It's a positive thing. Also, use the infant's name as often as possible. Then they know for sure that you are talking to them. Though parentese, we don't want to keep talking like this to kids forever and ever. Honestly, when you are talking to, your family, hopefully your voice does go up a little bit, even if they are older, especially when you first greet. Hi, how are you? I know mine does, even with my child who's moved away and married and has 2 kids. I see him like, hey, bud, how are you? And my voice goes up for a few minutes. I don't continue to talk like that, but that's just a sign of an attachment and a closeness, that there's a tender relationship there. All right, and then use hand gestures to match your words, like bye-bye, or yay, and clap your hands together, or, and act surprised and put your hands up and, you're surprised. But using gestures helps as well. And then allow the infant to respond back. Have some wait time. Like, be quiet and let them get a word in edgewise. See what they do. You saw that a little bit in the couple of videos I showed you the other day as well. We're done for today, and we'll talk about infants and sleep tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.